ground, we watched in horror as United Flight 175 slammed into Tower 2. Now imagine being Loan Officer Stanley Premnath. He was on the 81st floor.
Here I see the biggest aircraft ever bearing down on me, eye level. Now my mind is reacting fast, and this plane is coming with a lot of speed. I can still hear the sound.
Upon impact, Stanley dove underneath his steel desk. Hundreds perished instantly, including 18 of Stanley's Fuji Bank colleagues. But somehow, he survived.
I'm scared more than anything. When that plane crash landed in the building, the bottom wing was stuck in my office door 20 feet from where I was under the desk. And I'm thinking in my mind, it's gonna burn and I'm gonna die.
Trapped under piles of debris, Stanley thought there was no way out. But then, out of the darkness, came a light.
I could hear a banging on the wall or banging on something, and this voice calling in the darkness, "Help me, I'm buried, I can't breathe."
Armed with a flashlight, Eurobroker's Vice President Brian Clark was escaping down the tower's one remaining staircase when he came to Stanley's rescue.
2 men alive on that floor. Somehow he finds you and pulls you out of the rubble.
I'm thinking in my heart, am I dreaming? Am I really seeing a light?
He said, "I'm Stanley," and I said, "I'm Brian. Come on, let's get out of here." And we made our way back to the stairs, and we started down.
But the smoke-filled staircase was filled with people running up, thinking safety could be found on the roof.
My instinct was to keep descending to test what was there.
Against all odds, the men reached the ground floor.
The only people we saw there were firefighters and cops, and they were cheering us on. Run, run, get out of the building.
The 2 men ran to nearby Trinity Church for safety.
This is where we reached, and we held onto this fence, and I'm telling him, Brian, this building is going.
And I said, "There's no way." I said, "Those are steel structures. That's just carpeting and newspapers and furniture that's burning." And as I said that, the building just imploded.
The tower they had escaped just minutes before was now a smoldering graveyard of dust, debris, and ash. They couldn't have known then they were 2 of just 4 people working in offices above where the plane hit Tower 2 who survived.
It's just a sickening feeling.
In the 6 months since that devastating day, Brian has returned to work and now manages his company's relief fund, which helps the families of the 61 employees they lost.
I'm sad, very sad that these people aren't with us, because they were wonderful people. But you can't change it. So it's wasted effort to feel guilty.
Guilt is something that Stanley still struggles with.
My friends who went down when the building went, I still think about them. I still see them in my dreams. I still hear their screams. I still feel that dreadful day.
Todd McDermott, CBS 2.
The tragedy of September 11th has affected almost all of us, especially members of New York's bravest, who lost 343 firefighters in the attack. How do they race into deadly situations with the tragedy so fresh in their minds? CBS 2's Penny Crone joins us live on the East Side now with their story tonight. Penny.
Well, it's been a very difficult night for every firefighter in our city. Now, the men of Engine 8 Ladder 2 lost 10 members. They were inside tonight. They were watching the special. At the same time, they were also going on runs, protecting all of us. But tonight is a very solemn night. The men of Engine 7 and Ladder 1 that you saw in our special watched the 2-hour show together in their kitchen. Out of respect to them and their victims' families, we kept our distance tonight. Those I spoke with, though, were clearly moved by the show. So many of their brothers perished, but not one of us can ever distance ourselves from September 11th. And for every rescue worker, it's as if it all happened yesterday.
We will not tire, we will not falter, and we will not fail.
One of the guys, Jimmy Lennox, he was so moved by President Bush's speech that he took his slogan, had it made up, and then put it on the rig himself.
We will not tire, we will not falter, we will not fail. Words the president said days after September 11th. Words the firefighters at Ladder 37, Engine 79 will keep in their hearts and on their fire truck forever.
The President reflected the sentiments of all the firemen and their families, especially after that tragedy. He was very self-assuring and assertive, and we're just very proud to be part of this company, and I think the public is very much behind us now.
It's back to the everyday job of being a firefighter. It appears the days, weeks, and months since September 11th have eased the heartbreak for our bravest, but it hasn't.
Jerry Schrang, who was killed from Rescue 3 in the World Trade Center.
I miss my buddies, first of all, and I really don't know. I really don't know. Right now, it's really not fun coming to work anymore like it used to be. You know, it's just you come in and you have memories of your friends that you lost.
Bill Shue has worked at Ladder 2, Engine 8 on Manhattan's East Side for 18 years. On September 11th, every firefighter assigned to Ladder 2 was killed when the Trade Center fell. Those who were off duty and survived think now not only about their brothers, but about change.
Safety of the men first, and then how to get people out to safety or part of the building where they need to be in a safe area.
More so than before September 11th?
Yes, definitely.
It's real simple.
The meal for these men isn't only nourishing, it's a time to bond. The kitchen here at Engine 8 Ladder 2 is a lot different now. Yes, there's the firehouse humor.
Penny doesn't like my disgusting looking zucchini. But once it's all said and done, she's gonna love it.
I love it. I love it. And just being with these very special men isn't good. It's great. The men who so bravely gave their lives for all of us watch over their brothers here and at every firehouse in our city. The men are surrounded by memories, like John Curatolo. His brother Robert worked at a firehouse a few blocks away. John carries his brother's picture in his helmet, and his locker is adorned with what was left of Robert's gear.
I'm going to stay right here. I'm one house away from where my brother was, and this is where I want to be.
For these men, time hasn't healed their wounds, but they're heroes, and their dedication hasn't changed, and they say it never will.
We will not tire, we will not falter, and we will not fail.
And there isn't much else to say except from all of us at CBS2 to all of our rescue workers and all of our firefighters, thank you. Reporting from the East Side, I'm Penny Crone, CBS2 Nightcast. Now back to you, Dana.
Penny, thank you. The New York City Port Authority and police departments were also devastated on that fateful day, but these are not lives lost in vain. Instead, the departments are dramatically changing how they work in order to save future lives. Our Kirsten Cole is live in Lower Manhattan to explain that for us. Kirsten.
Dana, most of us have felt a change in the air since the attacks happened, and that change definitely extends to our relationship with law enforcement. Many of us now feeling a newfound empathy for men and women who never know what they'll face. We see them every day, walking a beat, working a police line, or just cruising through their precinct. But seldom do we think of the officers of the NYPD as people with faces and families, or about the danger they never know is coming until they're in the thick of it. 6 months ago, it swallowed them up and took 23 of New York's finest, 37 from the Port Authority, away from us forever. But from every battle, the soldiers learn lessons. Police Commissioner Ray Kelly is still studying, learning how the public's perception can change.
The public is a lot more receptive to police practices, you might say, to being stopped or traffic stops, that sort of thing. And you can feel it.
And things are already changing for cadets. With expedited courses at the Port Authority Academy, Kelly says even more changes are planned for the NYPD, since they've gone from fighting the crimes of an overwhelming city to trying to beat back global terrorism targeting Gotham. But they're facing a shrinking force and the specter of the past. The shooting of an unarmed Amadou Diallo by 4 police officers, the savage precinct house attack on Abner Louima, and the buy and bust operation gone bad that killed Patrick Dorismond. The shooting here of Patrick Dorismond, as well as that of Amadou Diallo and the attack on Abner Louima, were the height of the public's perception of a heavy-handed NYPD. But much of that has changed, according to the top brass at our city's police department, right down to the man on the street. And a lot of that has to do with September 11th.
Before that, you basically had a, at least to minorities, a somewhat callous police department. It put a human face to it.
It's nice to have people come up and say, you're doing a good job and we appreciate that you're here. And that's all we look for. And it's sad that it took maybe something like this to get the people to recognize that.
It's a very difficult job to do, and a difficult job to do well.
You do have a little bit more respect from people.
I'd say that, the NYPD got a lot of bad press before September 11th. I think maybe, I don't know, it's a little bit more of a prideful thing to be a cop nowadays.
They see now that NYPD is more than just police officers, that they were people.
People who will never forget all that has been done for us.
And that was Kirsten Cole.
Coming up, 6 months after the tragedy, how safe is the air near Ground Zero? The surprising answer next. Plus, how an office worker turned into an instant hero to save a woman's life.
Get her out of here. I'm going to get I'm going to get myself out of here, and I'm going home.
And recovery workers describe what it's like being at Ground Zero 7 days a week for the past 6 months. We'll be back.
Michael and John carried Tina and her wheelchair down the 68 flights of stairs of Tower 1.
But as Tina, Michael, and John reached the crowded bottom floors of Tower number 1, panic set in as rumors circulated that Tower 2 had just collapsed.
I didn't want it to enter my head, but I knew the situation wasn't getting any better. I always try to think about the light at the end of the tunnel.
Finally, daylight came. Michael and John rushed Tina to a nearby ambulance.
That's when she finally became upset. She started to cry, and she motioned for me to give her a hug. So I stepped into the ambulance and I gave her a hug.
After 100 death-defying minutes together, down 68 flights of stairs, Michael and John finally said goodbye to Tina. Just minutes later, they were running for their own lives as Tower 1 fell to the ground.
It's overwhelming. I just can't believe I'm here sometimes.
In the following weeks, Michael and John were celebrated as heroes.
The words, I'm glad to be here, as you can imagine, have taken on a whole new meaning.
But Michael says these happy moments can't overcome the sadness he still feels 6 months later.
I've been going to church every Sunday again, and sometimes when I'm in church, it's hard to keep it together. The firemen haunt me a lot, and the fact that I was going down and they were going up. You talk about heroes and you talk about bravery, that's being brave.
As for Tina, Michael had never even asked her name. Luckily, they were reunited days later through a reporter at People magazine.
I'm really glad to know him. I'm glad that he was there.
There were so many things that I could have done differently that would have made a difference of whether I'm sitting here today or not. Whether I decided not to help Tina and I got out at the time the Tower 2 was falling, maybe she was there to save us.
Michael Pomerantz, CBS 2.
And after the terror attacks, America faced another harsh reality. It was time for war. Tonight, signs the battle is slowing down, but far from over.
Then ratting out the terrorists who caught a nation off guard. See why 6 months later, the number of arrests is actually very small.